Today I want to come to an issue that many people from complex trauma have when it comes to forming relationships, and it's a very troubling issue for them, and it would go under kind of the category of relationship addiction, or a new phrase or term that is used called limerence. To me, it's such a practical issue that needs to be looked at, and it's really not fully understood unless you look at it in light of complex trauma.
When we understand how complex trauma affects us, we understand why we turn to addictions to cope. Developed with Tim Fletcher's teachings, our Align with Yourself course helps you learn to understand the root cause behind your addictions and reconnect with yourself. Take the first step toward recovery from addictions and complex trauma. Use coupon code I'mReady to access your first module for free.
So let me begin by just defining what we mean by this whole limerence word. So limerence is the state of being infatuated or obsessed with another person. So it's typically experienced involuntarily, and it's characterized by this strong desire that when you meet this person that they will reciprocate your feelings. So it's not primarily about sex with them, it's that I want to be loved by them. Limerence means to have this intense longing for another person, even though they might not fully reciprocate. So it's just this consuming longing. It becomes an obsession for the person, and so they struggle to think about anything else except this new crush. And for some, it can result in they neglect their social life, they neglect their work, other responsibilities, because they're now consumed by this obsession of this longing for somebody that they hope will love them back. What's begun to happen is they've defined 5 stages to limerence. So the first stage is called pre-limerence, and during this phase, so you don't even have a person in mind. And so what characterizes it is you long to fall in love and be loved in return. That just is there all the time. And so you're always looking for somebody who might love you back. And you meet somebody and they show signs that maybe they might have an interest in you. Maybe they might reciprocate your love. So we're going to call them the object of limerence, or LO. And that is the pre-limerence. You meet somebody and they're nice to you, and all of a sudden you're fixated on them. And so it's not like you went choosing a partner, looking for a particular type of partner, but rather you go and you find somebody that shows an interest in you, and all of a sudden you're hooked. So that leads to the next phase, which is pre-reciprocity. So you're showing an interest in them, but they haven't had reciprocity. They're not showing it back. What I think is important, again, to emphasize here is that physical attraction might be an initial piece to this, but limerence isn't actually about wanting sex with a person as the focus. It's a desire for more than sex. And so what then happens is this person you meet, they are nice to you, they seem to show an interest, there seems to be reciprocity, but you're not sure. There's not clear reciprocation yet, there's just hints of possible reciprocation. And so what then happens is in this pre-reciprocity stage is that you now are constantly examining everything they say, everything they do, looking for a sign that they love you, that they're interested in you. And if you see a sign, then all of a sudden you're full of joy and excitement, and that just increases your longing for that person, but you're uncertain still. So it looked like a sign, but I'm not 100% sure that it was a sign. And so there's uncertainty, there's fear, there's self-doubt, do they like me or not is constantly going on in your mind. So it's a very torturous time where you're getting these growing longings. You're maybe seeing signs, but you're not certain. So then that goes to the next stage, which is reciprocity. There is clear evidence that they're interested in you. And that reciprocity phase is also called the infatuation phase. So now, wow, they are interested in me. And it's almost like an addiction begins. This person now is your drug. You can only think about them. That's all the time, 24 hours a day. You see them and your heart speeds up. You feel extra stress when you're around them, when you're away from them. You have anxiety all the time related to them. Your thoughts are all constantly being intruded by them. It becomes this consuming thing that just takes over your life. It's like it's uncontrollable, and you have this overwhelming desire for this person. So that's the infatuation stage. You're just feeding off the good oxytocin chemicals that are going on in your brain, and it's consuming you. That then leads to the next phase, which is called crystallization. And so you're kind of past the infatuation, and it's moving a little bit past that. But now what begins to happen is this person is really into me. This person really likes me. And so you then go to kind of this fantasy place where, okay, now this person's going to meet all my needs. This person, we're going to be happily ever after. This person is flawless. And you idealize this person. You create a fantasy world with this person. You put them on a pedestal. That's what begins to happen in this crystallization phase. So it's growing in your mind. How wonderful this is, not based on fact, but based on the feelings that you had in infatuation, that you are now creating this perfect person and a perfect relationship. Well, you can see that is not sustainable, and that is not based on fact, and so it leads to the final phase, the deterioration phase. And reality begins to sneak in that this person isn't perfect, this person isn't going to meet all my needs. I'm never going to have the person I was longing for, craving. And so all of a sudden, this person drops off the pedestal. They're human. They've got flaws. They're not able to meet all your needs. There's disappointment in them. And so they can drop off the pedestal. You can turn against them, but you then go through the awareness, okay, this relationship's not going to happen. And you go through a time of loss. So what happens often in limerence is a person goes through these 5 phases, and then they go through this time of loss, then they meet somebody else, and it starts all over again. And it's just a cycle that repeats itself from one relationship to a next.